We must unite now. We must have one army. We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. We must be united.
We all know that we are in a world where the voices of true African leadership seem to be dwindling day by day. But of course, we still have a few ones that stand tall. Men who are driven by a vision of unity, integrity, and self-reliance for Africa. Before we even start this video, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'm hoping you're gonna stay until the end of the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit on that subscription button, and please remember to like this video and share it to your friends who might be interested in airing the voices of Africa for a greater unity. Today I want us to talk about one man. Who else other than Professor PLO Lumumba, a relentless advocate for Pan-Africanism and ethical leadership.
We must unite now. We must have one army. We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. We must be united. And I can hear the Osagiefo saying, I do not want to be the leader of that country. I simply want unity. And I'm saying that we must live here with one united government. They listen not to the Osagiefo. I can still hear those immortal words of the Osagiefo Kwame Nkrumah telling his Ghanaian peoples that the independence of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not independent.
Today I want us to explore why he is one of the last remaining voices that still speak boldly about Africa's potential, and why his message highly resonates now more than ever.
It is because we are politically weak, we are economically weak, socially we are disorganized, culturally and spiritually we are confused. That is the continent in which we are today. And the question, therefore, what would we do continentally in terms of trade? In 1980, under the Lagos Plan of Action, and some of you have been ambassadors, some of you, you are now serving cabinet ministers, you will grapple with this on a daily basis. Under the Lagos Plan of Action, Africa sat down in Lagos and said, we are going to improve trade amongst ourselves. 1980. Lagos Plan of Action. Did we do it? No, we did not do it.
PLO Lumumba believes in the power of Pan-Africanism, as I said before. I believe that Africa can rise only if its people, if all of us come together, transcending beyond our borders, beyond our languages, beyond our histories. And one of the people he draws inspiration from are leaders like Kwame Nkrumah and Julius Kabarage Nyerere. He reminds us that Africa unity is not just an ideal, but a necessity for survival in the modern world. We have seen there's another scramble for Africa, and we need this unity more than ever before.
If we are not united in the Pan-African spirit, what is going to happen is that the imperialist is going to control us. They are going to emphasize our ethnic differences, and they are going to ensure that we begin fighting amongst one another, and as we do so, they are going to exploit us. And they started. In January 1961, they assassinated Patrice Emery Lumumba, and Congo has never been the same again. In 1963, they assassinated Sylvanus Olympio in Togo, all orchestrated because we were disunited and we were weak. The predictions of our forefathers and founding mothers that disunited we would remain weak came true.
But it's not just unity that Lumumba advocates for, he is also fierce critic of the current leadership across Africa. He has been talking so boldly about corruption, about greed, and lack of vision that has plagued the continent. And he doesn't shy away from pointing out these failures. Actually, his message is very clear that true leadership requires integrity and service to the people. And we all know that Africa is not poor. Africa is rich in resources, but all these resources are mismanaged by the greedy few people that we have. We need leaders who are not thieves, but servants of the people.
And in many African countries, these outfits are formed on the basis of ethnic affiliation. Your typical African political party is simply an assembly of ethnicities. And in many African nations, you will discover that what we call elections is simply an ethnic census to determine which ethnic group is larger than the other. It is Julius Nyerere of Tanzania who said it. He said that the tragedy of Africa is not what the song is, not the song that is being sung, but who the singer is. And what he meant was very clear, that you may have an agenda that is good for your nation, but if you do not come from a particular ethnic group, those who will follow you will not be from your ethnic group. You may sing the best song, but when you look back, you'll discover that it's only people from your ethnic group who are following you. And when you have such a situation, the design is inherently conflictual. And that is why, therefore, when you look at Africa today, you discover that after every election cycle in many African countries, there is conflict. Because you go into the election, or the political parties go into an electoral process on the basis that we must win, and if we don't win, the elections have been rigged. In other words, we place so much premium on the presidency, and you'll see in many African countries, entry into government is like winning a lottery. It is winning a lottery because it gives you access to resources. And therefore people claim the president. If you are in a country, you say, and one of your own means a son, they are normally sons. One of your own sons has won the presidency. The tribe celebrates, from the herdsman to the professor, from the fisherman to the intellectual, because we have now won the presidency. We have won the lottery. We will have ministers. We'll have all these, and everybody else feels excluded, and that generates conflict. And we have seen it, whether if we don't see it in Gabon, we see it in Guinea-Bissau. If we don't see it in Guinea-Bissau, we see it in Kenya. If we don't see it in Kenya, we see it in South Sudan. So that in South Sudan, if one were to ask them, what is the problem? The contest is of an ethnic kind. They are contesting because one of our own must occupy the state house. And that is why, therefore, you see, under the guise of democracy in a number of African countries, we create offices which are sinecures. You will have a president, you'll have a deputy president, you'll have a second deputy president, you'll have a prime minister, first prime minister, first second prime, all those useless offices which make no sense, because you have to appoint people into those offices and give them a motorcade so that when they go to their villages, they look important and the people own them as ours.
So why does Lumumba stand alone? We all understand that we're in a continent filled with challenges. Many leaders have been silenced or lost their way. Once they elected, and then that's the end of them, they start siding with the West. Yet Lumumba remains as one of the few who are still carrying the torch of African unity and ethical governance, unafraid to speak the truth to power.
They'll never go to Bahrain, they'll never go to Brunei, they'll never go to Saudi Arabia, they'll never go to Indonesia to tell them. It is Africans who they think are tails to be wagged. So on this issue, the government of the Uganda and the people of Uganda, I am with them 100%. There is no freedom outside of the law.
How do you balance
Balance-
the decision or right to choose?
Choose what? The choice must be limited according to the mores of a different community. And in any event, should we be talking about LGBTQ when we have no food on the table? And the danger, including with you journalists, is that now when you interview people, you have your own position that you want to impose on us. We refuse. We know.
In the United Nations Human Rights Council.
But the United Nations Human Rights Council, is it some god? Is it not a body that is composed of human beings who have created a body where some are permanent members and some are not permanent members? Remember, in matters of morality, numbers don't matter. It is the mores. You may disagree with me, but I'm telling you without batting an eyelid and unapologetically that some of us oppose LGBTQ, and you who are anchors, I'm now telling you, because I've seen it with other anchors from other parts of the world, you have a position and you want to impose on us. We refuse. Yours is to midwife, to ensure that my views, if others have a different view, you go and interview them. But from where I sit, I oppose LGBTQ with every ounce in my life.
Including that they must be killed.
Who said they must be killed?
Ugandan law.
No, there is nobody who has said that they must. I want you to read the law. They have not said that.
Despite the many challenges, Lumumba still remained hopeful that the future of Africa is still great and we will have one Africa. And I agree with that because his belief in the continent's youth is unwavering. You all know how he has been calling about young Africans to take ownership of their destiny, to lead with integrity, and to bring about the change that Africa so desperately needs. And you know, what I'll tell to the young people, the young African people, is that the future belongs to us. And you know what? We know the Africa that we want. And for us to get that change that we need in Africa, it's us to take that mandate and not to leave them. Not to leave our mandate to our leaders, because we've seen what best they do once they get into power.
We must unite now. We must have one army. We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. We must be united.
Before I conclude, my message to you as a young person is, let us strive for a more unified Africa and a stronger Africa that takes the count of the needs of the young people. If you haven't subscribed yet, please don't forget to subscribe, and remember to like this video and share it with your friends or relatives or anyone who you love that will really appreciate this video. So I would want to finish by saying that PLO's message is very clear. The future of Africa depends on unity, strong leadership, and the courage to rise above the failures of our past. He may stand alone today, but his voice continues to echo across the continent, urging us to build a better Africa. And we all know we have started agreeing that truly we need one Africa. We don't want another scramble for Africa, but we need to fight to end that.
If we are not united in the Pan-African spirit, what is going to happen is that the imperialists is going to control us. They are going to emphasize our ethnic differences. And they are going to ensure that we begin fighting amongst one another. And as we do so, they are going to exploit us.
I will finish by one of Lumumba's best quotes. If Africa is to rise, she must believe in herself and act on her own power. May Africa rise. Thank you very much for keeping it, my diaries. I hope you enjoyed this video. And please, as I said before, I'm pleading with you once again. Don't forget to subscribe, to like the video, and to share it wide if you are for the future of Africa. Bye.